It was close to 4 decades ago when the world held its breath as the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Pripyat erupted in a catastrophe that reverberated across nations. Just 65 miles from Kyiv, a series of explosions belched forth unimaginable quantities of radiation, 50 to 185 million curies, contaminating vast expanses of Belarus, Ukraine, and beyond. Millions faced exposure to lethal radiation, and around 404,000 people were uprooted from their homes in the ensuing chaos. This nightmarish event is etched in history as the worst nuclear disaster ever, a tragic stain on the Soviet Union's legacy. But now, a chilling whisper echoes through the corridors of power: could the Russian Navy be standing on the edge of an unimaginable disaster once more? The culprit? Nuclear-powered warships, with the Admiral Nakhimov at the forefront of growing anxiety. Dubbed floating Chernobyls, concerns have resurfaced regarding these ships' questionable seaworthiness and volatile reactors. The Admiral Nakhimov has resurfaced after years of modernization, fueling speculation that it will soon serve as the flagship of the Russian naval fleet. However, the specter of another Chernobyl-style calamity looms large. Join us as we delve deeper into the revival of the Admiral Nakhimov and why its return could signal unprecedented risks. After a staggering 28 years of restoration, the nuclear-powered battlecruiser has returned to the seas, proudly bearing its 28,000 tons and now fully operational since its reactors reignited earlier in 2025. Positioned to overshadow the iconic Pyotr Veliki, Peter the Great, this vessel is more than just a warship. It's seen as a new Russian superpower, yet it raises urgent questions about its safety, strategic effectiveness, and the latent dangers it carries on its journey. What fate lies ahead as the Admiral Nakhimov sails forth again? The world watches, holding its breath as the waves ripple beneath this leviathan of the sea. What challenges will it face, and could it bring about a disaster that history would not soon forget? As we explore the odyssey of the Admiral Nakhimov, the answers may hold future peril within their depths. In the shadow of history, the echoes of past disasters loom large. Almost 4 decades ago, a catastrophic chain of explosions shattered the tranquility of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant near Pripyat, just a stone's throw from Kyiv. Millions faced the dire consequences of radiation, and vast lands in Belarus, Ukraine, and beyond sank into contamination. Resettlement became a grim reality for nearly 404,000 lives, marking Chernobyl as the worst nuclear disaster on record. But could history be poised to repeat itself? The Russian Navy's Admiral Nakhimov, a nuclear-powered warship, stands on the brink of igniting fresh fears. Dubbed a floating Chernobyl, this ship, armed with nuclear power and dubious safety records, resurrects questions of calamity. After 28 years of being docked for restorations, it has returned to the sea, raising alarms of a potential disaster that could eclipse that of Chernobyl itself. Picture this: for the first time since 1997, the colossal Admiral Nakhimov, weighing 28,000 tons, glides through the water under its own steam. With 2 nuclear reactors recently switched back on as of 2025, this emblem of Russia's maritime prowess is ready to reclaim its place as a flagship. Yet, despite its impressive stature, suspicions about its safety and reliability persist. From the launch of its predecessor in the 80s, the Kyiv-class ships were designed to dominate the seas. They were touted by the Soviet Navy as the heaviest and largest surface vessels, only second to aircraft carriers. But how often did they live up to their lofty expectations? Of the original fleet, only a few, including the Admiral Nakhimov, remain, echoing ghostly warnings of missed opportunities and lost legacy. As we delve deeper, let's examine the history of Admiral Nakhimov. Initially known as the Kalinin upon its commissioning in 1988, its journey has been riddled with turmoil and eventual renaming alongside its Kyiv-class siblings. Following a wave of delays, it emerged as the vessel intended to assert Russian dominance at sea. Yet the deaths of its counterparts raise a chilling question: is the Nakhimov truly safe? Its sibling, the Admiral Ushakov, followed a similar tragic trajectory, decommissioned and ultimately reduced to scrap in 2021 due to its failing reactor. Countless repairs were deemed ineffective, leading to financial burdens and safety hazards. But are we truly prepared to gamble the fate of another ship, another crew, on the brink of disaster? In the vivid chronicles of warships, a cautionary tale emerges with the ill-fated SSV-33 Ural, built on Kirov-class principles. Crafted to gather intelligence, this nuclear-powered vessel was a marvel on paper. Yet, with a history marred by misfortunes and near misses at sea, did it not stand as a warning? The Ural was a potential catastrophe adorned with advanced technology, lurking in the silence, much like the rebirthed Admiral Nakhimov today. As we begin to uncover these layers of obsession and ambition that brought these ships into being, the question lingers: what catastrophic fate awaits if we overlook the warnings of yesteryear? What kind of reckoning hides beneath the waves, ready to surface once again? Stay tuned as we confront the dark reality of our maritime past, and the threat that looms from the heart of Russia's fleet. What secrets will surface when we explore the depths of this turbulent legacy? In our last segment, we uncovered how the wrecked SSV-33 Ural, a colossal nuclear spy ship, mirrored the Admiral Nakhimov's ambitions, a bid for Russia's naval dominance through high-tech prowess, daring voyages to distant waters like Kwajalein Atoll to eavesdrop on America's deepest secrets. But now, picture this: what if a ship so powerful it could outmaneuver the U.S. fleet became a literal death trap, fusing radioactive horror with human despair? Could you imagine fleeing a doomed vessel, its metal groaning under invisible poisons? The Ural's role was to linger for months, absorbing electronic whispers to decode America's hidden arsenals. Rinse your mind with that salty tang of ocean spray. Feel the hum of advanced radars vibrating through your bones, scanning for every secretive pulse. But irony struck hard: this behemoth never reached its spy haven. Soviet leaders, then Russian ones, wisely balked at the gamble. Why unleash a potential nightmare on the waves? Fatal flaws plagued it from day one, entering service in December 1988 like a curse unleashed. From the start, troubles erupted. Upon docking at Vladivostok after circling Europe and Southeast Asia, no dock awaited. Adrift in the bay, corrosion hissed like venomous snakes, machinery clanked and wheezed, staying operational to sustain 1,000 souls in makeshift exile. Crews battled rusty fumes, hands chafing on slit controls, hearts pounding against the constant thrum of failing reactors. Summer of 1990 brought fiery wrath, a blaze ravaged sections, scorching air thick with acrid smoke. Repair crews coughed, skin blistering from the heat. Every spark a reminder of annihilation looming. Yet worse loomed. That fateful fall of 1991, a tempest roared, winds howling like furious beasts, yanking the charred hulk from moorings. It hurled toward jagged rocks, reactors teetering on oblivion. What twisted fate saved it? Barely, waved off disaster by sheer chance, sparing a meltdown that could have poisoned the sea. Now, brace for the reveal: this wasn't mere misfortune, but a silent radiation war killing even the rats. Quick, silent slaughters leaving crews gasping, abandoning ship in desperate swims. Their opulent floating fortress turned a toxic hell, listing under hidden leaks, welded in place to avert storms. Could humanity's hubris sink a nuclear giant, or rise above propaganda humiliations? What eruption would shatter the next illusory strength, exposing cracks in Russia's naval empire? In the aftermath of a catastrophic fire and tempest, the vessel known as Ural found itself tethered at the docks of Vladivostok. Fate would not spare it, as a nearby munitions depot suddenly erupted, showering the naval base with debris and chaos. Against all odds, the crew rallied, maneuvering the ailing ship out of harm's way with the aid of only one tugboat and their own strength, narrowly averting disaster once again. With the dissolution of the Soviet Union, the shipbuilding industry crumbled alongside it, leaving the Ural in a dire financial limbo. Maintenance became a forgotten dream, and the once proud ship began to deteriorate, twisting ominously to the side as it slowly filled with water, a condition multiple repair efforts failed to rectify. Desperate times called for desperate measures, and workers resorted to welding the massive vessel to its berth to prevent it from being swept away in yet another storm. Life aboard the Ural was anything but ordinary. An unseen menace, perhaps radiation, had exterminated the rats that typically scurried unnoticed. Strangely, their absence signaled alarm, and crew members faced a rising tide of unease. After a few troubling years of service aboard the maligned ship, many sailors chose to leap overboard and swim to safety rather than endure the uncomfortable conditions. The crew dwindled to just 100 souls, 10% of its original numbers, accelerating the ship's decline into rust and neglect. In 2002, the Russian Navy finally severed ties with the Ural, spending the next several years debating how to dispose of the ship without revealing its secrets. Ultimately, in 2010, it was sent to the Zvezda shipyard in the Far East for dismantling, a process finished by 2018. That was one potential nuclear disaster laid to rest, but it raised questions about others lurking in the depths. Could the world truly breathe easy with such dangerous relics still afloat? The remnants of a bygone era linger, hidden in the ocean's embrace, waiting for a reckoning. What if I told you there's a threat lurking deep beneath the ocean's surface, a potential nuclear catastrophe waiting to ripple into our lives once again? Almost 4 decades ago, the world was shaken by the nightmare of Chernobyl. But what few know is that similar horrors still lurk in our waters, silent, deadly, and forgotten. Let's rewind the clock. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, the stakes grew dangerously high. The Arctic port of Murmansk, a stronghold for nuclear submarines, has weathered years of neglect. In the shadows of NATO's embrace lies a legacy of over 400 nuclear-powered submarines silently rotting away on the ocean floor. The untold dangers of these vessels, laden with toxic histories, are only beginning to emerge. Consider this: in 1982, one of Russia's storage pools leaked a staggering 661,000 tons of radioactive water into the Barents Sea, threatening the delicate marine ecosystem. Decades later, the aftermath reveals itself in crumbling canisters, precariously stacked beneath the open skies of Andreeva Bay. Just imagine the fear gripping those who relied on this site, knowing that more than 100 submarines' spent fuel remnants were left exposed, vulnerable to the elements. In a desperate effort to contain the fallout, Russia sought collaboration with Western nations. Together, they undertook the monumental task of decommissioning 197 Soviet-era nuclear submarines and removing strontium batteries from navigation beacons scattered across the coastline. It's a commendable start, but is it enough? The icy depths of the Arctic hold 18,000 radioactive objects, including vessels and reactors long abandoned. Recent studies revealed an alarming reality: while some radiation levels have declined to background amounts, nearly 1,000 items still emit dangerous penetrating gamma radiation. What horrors could these relics unleash if disturbed? Most concerning are 6 particular pieces, including 2 nuclear submarines and the reactor compartment of the icebreaker Lenin. Among them is the infamous K-27, once dubbed the Golden Fish. At 360 feet, this experimental attack submarine showcased cutting-edge technology marred by flaws from the outset. Its precarious journey began with 2 experimental liquid metal-cooled reactors that posed fatal consequences, not just for the crew but for future generations. Is the specter of Chernobyl truly behind us, or is another chapter of devastation just waiting to unfold? A shadow over the sea in the chilling embrace of history, Chernobyl stands as a haunting reminder of the catastrophic nuclear disaster that shattered lives and altered landscapes forever. Nearly 4 decades ago, a cataclysmic series of explosions erupted at the Chernobyl Nuclear Power Plant in Pripyat, Ukraine, releasing an unthinkable amount of radioactive particles into the atmosphere. This event reshaped the lives of millions and left scars across wide swathes of Europe, yet the ghosts of such disasters linger, threatening to resurface. Fast forward to today, and the specter of catastrophe looms over the Russian Navy once again. At the center of this unsettling unease is none other than the Admiral Nakhimov, a nuclear-powered warship freshly revived after nearly 3 decades of modernization, a ship some observers daringly refer to as a floating Chernobyl. What could possibly go wrong? Imagine this: a vessel weighing in at 28,000 tons, armed with 2 formidable nuclear reactors. As it glides through the waves, the eerie murmurs of its immense power resonate throughout the fleet. Will it emerge as a powerful flagship or succumb to the shadows of its troubled lineage? This notorious class of ship has long been hailed for its might, but history is rife with mechanical misfortune. Unveiled in 1988, the Admiral Nakhimov, originally launched as the Kalinin, has weathered many storms of neglect and rebuild. What secrets linger in its refurbished decks? As it returns to the open sea, we are left to ponder, will it be the dawn of a new era or the dusk of a forgotten dream? Each turn of the screw invites anxiety, a tightening knot in the gut of naval commanders across the world. Yet the past isn't far behind. Shadows of the ill-fated Kyiv-class vessel seek to haunt our consciousness. Two of its sisters, the Admiral Ushakov and Admiral Lazarev, are already laid to rest, their reactor cores abandoned as their rusted hulks became ghost ships occupying forgotten docks. Their stories didn't end quietly, they echoed through the decay of Russia's once promising naval ambitions. And then we pivot to a different narrative, one encapsulating the legendary K-27 submarine, famously dubbed the Golden Fish. Embroiled in controversy from its inception, a reactor compartment ruptured during a training mission, exposing brave sailors to lethal doses of radiation. The fate of K-27, a vessel sealed with asphalt and sunk beneath the frigid waters of Novaya Zemlya, echoes like a warning bell for the Admiral Nakhimov. But wait, there's more. The K-159, a seemingly innocuous November-class submarine, plummeted to its doom, spilling spent uranium fuel onto the ocean floor beneath bustling fishing grounds. The weight of this grim reality looms heavy, a true Chernobyl in slow motion, as per the piercing words of a seasoned journalist. Isn't it unnerving to consider that such wrecks exist amidst everyday maritime traffic? While the world watches, Russia's nuclear aspirations show no signs of slowing. Unsatiated, they forge ahead, building nuclear-powered icebreakers for Arctic expeditions. One in particular, the academic Lomonosov, has arrived to serve as a floating nuclear power plant. But imagine the risks involved in its 5,400-mile journey across tempestuous Arctic waters. Could this vessel, with its modified reactors, also become a herald of disaster? As the Admiral Nakhimov sets sail into a future fraught with uncertainty, we must ask ourselves, has history truly taught us anything at all? Or are we merely players in a perilous game, teetering on the edge of another nuclear abyss? In the shadows of the Arctic's icy grip, the academic Lomonosov finally docked in Chukotka, powering 60% of the region, but whispers of disaster echoed through that 5,400-mile trek from St. Petersburg. Now, imagine the roar of diesel engines fading, replaced by the whine of uncertainty. Is the Admiral Nakhimov, destined to lead Russia's fleet, just another ticking nuclear time bomb like the Ural? Picture it, a monstrous beast of steel, over 800 feet long, its hull groaning under the weight of secrets. Could this revamped giant, after 28 years in limbo, unleash chaos on the seas, rivaling Chernobyl's deadly fallout? Concerns swirl like a gathering storm. Is this flagship really a savior, or a calamity in waiting? The air thickens with tension as workers scurry, tools clanging against metal that hums with latent danger. Fingers grip levers, sweat mixing with the sharp tang of welding fumes and rust. Yet, after nearly 3 decades of overhauls, upgrades pulse through its veins, offensive might intertwining with safety nets. The ship surges to 31 or 32 knots, nuclear cores fueling an infinite horizon, sustaining 60 days at sea without refueling. His crew? Some 710 to 744 souls breathe in the confined spaces, their steps echoing in dimly lit corridors where the scent of oil and salt lingers. 3 helicopters, Ka-27, Ka-29, Ka-31, hunker on deck, rotors folded like sleeping predators. Spec sheets are veiled in mystery, as if the ship itself guards its heart. But glimpses emerge, 10 universal vertical launchers, each cradling 8 Kalibran K or Onyx missiles, poised to strike. Murmurs speak of Zircon hypersonics, slicing through the sky at unthinkable speeds. Ambitious claims? Absolutely. Up to 176 vertical launch cells, 80 for surface threats, 96 for air defenses. Compare that, China's Type 55 boasts 112, the U.S. Flight 3 Arleigh Burke only 96, Ticonderoga at 122, Zumwalt with 80. Admiral Nakhimov towers above, a colossus reborn. New radars pierce the fog, a cold eye on the horizon. The old Soviet 130mm AK-130 gun? Gone, swapped for the modern AK-192M, thunder echoing as it fires. Layered shields stand firm, Fordem and Panzerem air defenses weave webs of protection, while Paket NK and Opet hunt submarines in the depths. Ka-27 series choppers lift from the hangar, their blades whipping up sprays of seawater, coordinating strikes far into enemy territory. Sweat beads on brows as systems hum to life. What if a flaw festers, turning power into peril? The echo of alerts from that fateful Ural voyage haunts the waves. But wait. What dark secrets lurk in the reactor cores, and could one misfire humiliate Russia's naval might, exposing vulnerabilities the world watches with bated breath? As waves lap against the hull, a sharp turn of fate looms. Will the Nakhimov glide as a conqueror, or sink into infamy, dragging empires into radioactive ruin? The sea holds its breath, and the question burns. Are we about to witness the rise of a superweapon, or the rebirth of disaster? Stay tuned as cracks in this aquatic titan widen. Almost 39 years ago, the world witnessed a catastrophe as a series of explosions rocked the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Pripyat, not far from Kyiv, Ukraine. This harrowing event unleashed between 50 to 185 million curies of radioactive particles, infecting vast expanses of Belarus, Ukraine, Russia, and even parts of Europe. Millions were exposed to harmful radiation, forcing the relocation of nearly 404,000 people from affected areas. Chernobyl remains the darkest chapter in nuclear history, notably staining the legacy of the Soviet Union. But as we move into a new era, an unsettling question arises. Could history be repeating itself with the Russian Navy's Admiral Nakhimov, a ship often likened to a floating Chernobyl? Now, after nearly 3 decades of dormancy, the Admiral Nakhimov has re-emerged, bringing with it a wave of apprehension. Interest peaks as this colossal vessel, over 28,000 tons, sets sail once more. Dubbed a potential superweapon of the Russian fleet, its maiden voyage raises urgent concerns about its safety and the ghost of another disaster lurking below its surface. For years of meticulous modernization have passed since the ship was yanked from its dry dock. But could all those delays mean that serious technical faults still plague its core? Flashback to the starry night in 1997, as the Admiral Nakhimov glided silently through the waves. The crew, exhilarated and hopeful, basked in the promises of a powerful future. The crisp salt air carried a palpable tension, mixed with the scent of oil and metal. Who would dare to predict the stormy road ahead? The Admiral Nakhimov, hailed as a towering achievement of naval engineering, has become a point of contention. What weapons and systems have been installed? Are they truly cutting edge, or is it merely a facade? Initially set for completion in 2018, the ship's re-entry into service has been delayed time and again, raising doubts about its capabilities. Could it be that these delays merely point to unresolved issues reminiscent of the notorious SSV-33 Ural, a vessel fraught with disaster? In a world of hypersonic missiles, attack drones, and evolving naval warfare strategies, is any ship genuinely secure today? The emergence of this refurbished nuclear-powered battleship could lead to the decommissioning of others like the Pyotr Veliky and, perhaps, the aging Admiral Kuznetsov. With the shadows of past mishaps looming large, it's time to ask, can the Admiral Nakhimov navigate the turbulent seas of modern warfare without becoming a monumental blunder of its own? The answers await as the ship makes its way back to the vast and unpredictable ocean. The launch of the Admiral Nakhimov not only marks a significant comeback for the Russian Navy but also signals the end for 2 other notorious vessels dubbed floating Chernobyls. With the revitalization of the Nakhimov, plans to bring its troubled counterpart, Admiral Kuznetsov, back into active service have been abandoned. Moreover, ventures to build a new fleet of nuclear-powered superdestroyers meant to replace the Kuznetsov have also been halted. In stark contrast to the Admiral Nakhimov, which has undergone extensive upgrades, the Pyotr Veliky has only received minimal modernization and remains heavily reliant on outdated Soviet weaponry and sensors. At one point, the plan was to elevate both battlecruisers through serious refurbishments, but uncertainties have arisen around the Pyotr Veliky's fate, with reports suggesting a complete retirement. That means one less potential nuclear hazard for the global community, a slight relief in an age where maritime disasters loom large. But with such drastic changes in Russia's naval arsenal, what does this mean for its naval ambitions? Is the Admiral Nakhimov truly the fearsome superweapon it is portrayed to be? The clock is ticking, and with the world holding its breath, the Admiral Nakhimov readies for its next chapter. Will it be a triumphant return or another reminder of past failures? Stay tuned. Imagine the thunderous roar of reactors humming to life, after nearly 3 decades of silence. That's the reality unfolding with the Admiral Nakhimov, a colossal 28,000-ton beast of a battlecruiser, its nuclear heart pulsing online once more in early 2025. Poised to eclipse its sibling, the Pyotr Veliky, this leviathan aims to reign supreme as Russia's naval crown jewel, a phoenix from the ashes of neglect. But beneath the triumph lurks a chilling echo from history. Ships like this have danced too close to apocalyptic flames before. What if this revival isn't salvation, but a ticking time bomb drifting toward catastrophe? 387 characters. Picture the salty tang of sea air clinging to your skin, the rhythmic crash of waves against steel behemoths that defy the ocean's wrath. These are the last remnants, the Kirov-class giants, mighty nuclear-powered guided missile heavy cruisers of the Soviet and Russian fleets, known domestically as Project 1144 Orlan class. Towering over peers, they stand as the world's largest and heaviest surface combatants still patrolling the depths, though their glory pales against promised power. Size alone vaults them near aircraft carriers in the naval hierarchy, yet in 1979, their emergence sparked a fierce U.S. response, forcing the recommissioning of the iconic Iowa-class battleships of the 1980s. Could this class really claim the seas, or was it destined to fizzle in shadows of unfulfilled ambition? The plan for 5 such titans emerged bold, a Soviet epic of dominance on the horizon. Dreams shattered when only 4 materialized, haunted by the cursed sister ship. SSV-33 Ural, a command and control spy vessel masquerading with a hulking Kirov hull, tweaked superstructure, and arsenal reborn. Why disastrous? That tale unfolds like a storm's fury, a harbinger of doom will unveil soon. Feel the chill of anticipation, the metallic creak underfoot as we delve deeper. First in line, the Kirov, birthed in Leningrad's Baltiysky Naval Shipyard in March 1974, emerged triumphant, launched in December 1980, commissioned amid fanfare. NATO's watchful eyes dubbed it Balcomai, a Baltic combatant of fearsome repute. Yet disaster struck in 1990, midway through its second mission in the Mediterranean, when a reactor faltered, unleashing invisible horrors. Funds evaporated in the chaos of a crumbling Soviet empire, repairs abandoned, leaving scars unhealed. Laid low in reserve by 1992, rechristened Admiral Ushakov, it languished, a relic of forgotten wars. Initially dismissed as scrap in 2010, Russian Navy whispers hinted at revival, restoring all Kirov kin to service. But by 2021, the truth surfaced. Beyond salve, it met the dismantler's torch in 2021. Enter the second sentinel, Admiral Lazarev, christened Frunze at launch, joining the fray in 1984 before its own renaming mirrored Kirov's fate. Vibrant for just 10 years until 1994, it faded into decommissioning by 1999, marked for scrapping in 2021, a process inching toward 2025's close. Both Ushakov and Lazarev bore reactors so ravaged, the cost to extract spent fuel and mend them proved a perilous nightmare, too daunting for even the Kremlin's coffers. Whispers of radiation tingle the senses like phantom burns. A reminder of fragility at sea. Can we honestly trust these giants not to crumble, their metal hearts betraying crews in the dead of night? Who humbles the might that once humiliated foes, now retreating from its own ruins? And what if twisted fate awaits the next survivor, turning progress into peril?